Hi, and welcome to the Hofline, your online hotline, direct line to the women-only attorneys at Hofheimer Family Law. My name is Katie Carter, and I'm so glad you're here. I'm an attorney at Hofheimer Family Law, a Virginia-based family law firm that represents women exclusively in divorce, custody, and support cases. I'm also here today with Caitlin Walters, who practices as an attorney in our firm and is also a licensed guardian ad litem. Thanks for joining me today, Caitlin.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Caitlin's here to talk a little bit more today about custody and visitation cases in Virginia, and specifically what you need to know as a mom facing a custody and visitation case. So, Caitlin, just to kick things off, we'll dive straight into all the details here. Can you tell me a little bit more about how custody and visitation cases are decided in Virginia?
Yes. So custody and visitation cases generally boil down to this high idea of what is in the best interest of the child or the children who are involved in the case. So the court is looking at a list of factors. Those factors can be found in the statute that talks about the best interest of the child factors. There are 10 factors that exist in Virginia, and those 10 factors are the factors the court has to look at when making this determination. So they are trying to look at some of the factors include the age, mental, and physical condition of the children, the age, mental, and physical condition of the child, of the parents, the role each parent has played and will play in the care and upbringing of the children. So again, they're looking at as many things as they can to get to know the situation and come up with what they believe is a schedule for custody and visitation that is going to serve the children's best interests.
Would you say, based on your experience in the courts in Virginia, that the court favors mom or dad, like one more heavily than the other, or something more like 50-50?
So I think especially lately, the courts tend to favor more of a 50-50 arrangement, especially when we're coming in on a first time basis, meaning there's not been a court order that has established a custody and visitation schedule. So I don't think there's really any favor towards mom versus dad. I think a lot of times as a mom, and I get this, I have kids and I would feel the same way. If you're going to give time to my ex or, to the father of my children, that must mean that you're anti-mom. I don't
Right.
think that's really what it is. I think a lot of judges kind of have in their minds that if we can set up a scenario where the kids have as much access to both parents as possible, that typically ends up being the best situation that we can have. And so I do think that's where the judges start out, is at a more shared physical custody 50-50 arrangement. Now, there are a lot of things that go into that decision, though. It's not an automatic. It's not a, yep, just, hang it up. This is what you're going to be stuck with. But definitely if a 50-50 arrangement is something that you don't think is in your kid's best interest, you are going to want to meet with an attorney to let them know the facts and circumstances that lead you to that conclusion, to then get a good idea of, what, actually, those are some pretty good factors or pretty good things that you have that maybe we could, bring to a judge that would convince a judge that 50-50 in this situation for your kids may not be best. Or I've had to have many conversations with moms where I say, I get it. I totally understand where you're coming from, but I just don't know if that's going to be enough to push a court beyond that
Mhm.
50-50 arrangement. So I think in general, I tell my clients, start out that that's where you think you're going to
Mhm.
be, and
Yeah.
then help me help you come up with the reasons why maybe that's not best for your kids.
Right. Or at least maybe just look at this as a long game, because I think it's
Yes.
important to remember, you talked about initial determinations, but custody, visitation, child support, all those things related to the kids are going to be modifiable later based on a material change in circumstances. So if
Exactly.
you don't get the result that you want now, then it's something that the court's going to revisit, because best interest of the child isn't something that is written in stone. It's not set in a particular period in time, and it's never ever going to change. I mean, it's something that's going to grow and change and evolve with the child. And I,
Exactly.
I would encourage you too. I mean, I heard you kind of touching on this, Caitlin, but I would encourage any mom facing a custody case to think about this less in terms of my rights and his rights and winning and losing, and think more about the children, and like the factors say, what is really in their best interest, not your best interest,
Mm-hmm.
not dad's best interest, but how are we going to get through this? How are we going to recover and co-parent together as a family so that the kids get everything they need from both of us, regardless of whether we're in a romantic relationship anymore. So
Exactly.
it's a hard thing to do. I mean, in a lot of ways, I can't imagine. I'm a mother too. I've got two little ones, and a lot of this speaks to, I think, that the reticence to go to a 50-50 arrangement or to let dad have more parenting time comes down to having an opportunity to be the kind of mom that you want to be. And
Yeah.
it's scary to think that you'd lose control of that. But I think this sort of segues into my next question for you, Caitlin, which is, what are the biggest mistakes you normally see moms making in custody cases? Because of course we want to, plan our case so that things go okay, but we also want to avoid some of the bigger mistakes that can happen.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the biggest mistake that I see happen a lot of times, or the biggest kind of hurdle I think that moms face, is related to factor number 6. And it is, so when you're looking this up and you're looking it online, know that factor number 6. And that factor is whether one parent, or part of that factor is whether one parent has unreasonably denied the other parent access to or visitation with the kids. And I think a lot of times, we only represent women. So a lot of times we do have stay-at-home moms who, come into my office and they say, dad's saying he wants 50-50, but I've been a stay-at-home mom the whole time. I take the kids to doctor's appointments. I go to the kids' school events. I, do the cooking, the cleaning. I get them up for school. I pick them up. I do all of the parenting. So I don't want him to do it. So he's asking me to, be involved in that. And I've told him, no, you've not done this up to this point and you're not going to do it now. I get it. I totally understand. I think what the court sees in that situation though is okay. Yes, that is what mom has done. That is, yes, that's the role she's played.
Yeah.
But we've been in a situation where the parents have been together in the same home. And so that was just the division of labor. And so, when we have that initial reaction of wanting to say, no, you don't get to do that. You don't get to take them to the doctor's appointment. You don't get to pick them up from school because that's what I've always done. That's my job. The courts tend to see that as an unreasonable denial of access to or visitation with the kids. Mm. So you just want to be sure that if dad reaches out to you, for example, and says, hey, I want to take our 3-year-old to Hooters at 8 p.m. on, any given night. Like,
maybe
hey, that's not appropriate.
Yeah.
You saying no to that probably is not going to be seen as an unreasonable denial to access to or visitation with the child. But another pitfall that I see a lot is that we say no, and maybe we have a legitimate reason to say no. He wants to pick him up on a Saturday. You've already signed Johnny up for, a baseball team and they have a baseball game on Saturday. And so Saturday is just not possible, or, it's an unreasonable request. Offer an alternative. Mm-hmm. So no, I don't think taking Johnny to Hooters at 8 p.m. is going to be the best idea, but hey, how about you pick him up Saturday morning and spend some time with him? So when you need to say no,
has a family night
time.
Kind of thing.
Exactly. Go do that instead of Hooters. Like, okay, fine. Right. They may have good wings, but not probably a place to take your child.
And it's child's bedtime. You're going to have bad behavior. You're not going to get what you want out of this anyway.
Right. We got to go to bed. So that's a pitfall that I see. Another pitfall that I see, honestly, is again, I see moms reacting one of two ways. Either that way of, this is my domain, this has been in my control, I'm not going to let you in and let you participate, or the opposite of, thank God he is finally stepping up and doing what I've been asking him to do this whole time. Yes. So he wants all this time with the kids. Yes, please do this. Yes, please do this. Yes, please do this. Yeah. Please take the kids. Please spend a week. Please do whatever. And then we have a situation where you've now established this status quo of you guys being separated, maybe even in separate houses, where he has more time than maybe what you want at the end of the day. So it's that friendly parent trap is what we kind of refer to it as. The dad all of a sudden is stepping up and he wants to do all this stuff. And you're going to react in one of two ways. You're either going to say no, and then you're going to fall under you're unreasonably denying him access to or visitation with the kids, or you're going to fall under the other one of, oh, thank goodness. And then you're establishing this new normal. And if that schedule works and the kids are doing well, it's a little bit of an if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So just being aware of those things when you guys are interacting. And I think the hardest position to be in with custody and visitation is when you don't have an order in place, because a lot of these decisions you make and things that you do when there's not an order in place, even though you're not breaking the law by breaking an order, you are still doing things and making decisions that are going to have an impact on your custody case once you get in front of a judge. So it's why I really think, maybe, and I know this kind of sounds whatever we want to call it. But I think another big mistake that I see moms make is not meeting with a custody attorney early on when the separation starts or when that possibility is coming up. Even if you don't end up hiring the attorney, to at least get some more personalized advice on, here's what you should do. Here's how you should handle this situation. Here's, if you don't want this to happen, then maybe do this. Or if you're okay with this happening, then great. Let's start to establish that now. So I think just getting that personalized advice, is really important too when doing a custody case.
Yeah, the courts can draw all sorts of conclusions from your
Yes.
behavior that you might not realize. If you're, letting the kids go with dad now, then you can't later make an argument that you want supervised visitation or that he's an alcoholic and the children aren't safe. The judge is going to be like, why did you send them then? If you really thought it was unsafe, then, you kind of need to make decisions that are consistent with that without falling. It's a sticky situation because you don't want to fall into the, unreasonably denying visitation, especially if, come to find out later that, he's fine. If we drug test him, he doesn't show evidence of alcoholism or, whatever you're alleging, you're going to want to make sure all your ducks are in a row. So, and a lot of that comes from, having a solid strategy in place. We've seen, hundreds, if not thousands of these cases. So, can kind of help you draw some conclusions that you might not have been able to reach yourself. So it's really important. Obviously, it's important that custody of your children is at stake here. So you want to ask the questions and get the information so that you can make, the best choices possible for you and your unique situation. And that can touch on all sorts of things. Like, I mean, we hear relocation come up a lot, especially in our area with so many military families. And if you're hoping to be able to move somewhere else with a child, then you're really going to want to get a solid plan in place. Like just up and leaving is probably not going to be your best option. So I don't know, maybe it is. It really all depends. It's the $1 million question.
You know what? And if I had a direct answer to it, then I could retire and, be happy.
So things would be a lot easier that way.
Yes. And I think that's, I hope, one of the biggest takeaways when talking about custody and visitation is there's not like this set answer of if you do A, B, C, D, or you follow this plan or you do these actions, then we can guarantee you what's going to happen when you come out of the courtroom.
Yeah.
Anything really when it comes to judges and the courts are really difficult to predict. But again, especially custody and visitation, because it is so incredibly fact specific that you've got to have, we can give general ideas in general, we generally suggest you do this. These are some things that we see that can cause problems in a lot of cases. But, again, kind of like Katie alluded to, I tell you, don't deny him access to your visitation with the kids. Well, you come to me and say, dad's high all the time and drunk, and he's, gotten it 4 DUIs with the kids in the car.
Yeah.
Okay, no, maybe that's a situation where you shouldn't let him have some time. Like, so I could tell you
there's
these
a lot
exist. Yeah, but there are always exceptions to these rules.
Yeah.
And you just want to be sure that you've talked that through with somebody that can kind of help from an outsider's perspective, take all those facts and say, okay, this is kind of what I think would probably happen. So let's make this our plan and let's figure out how we deal with these things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those are a lot of good points. Thank you so much for joining me, Caitlin. I think this was all really helpful. And I know that for a lot of people, there's really nothing as stressful as a custody case. So we just want to make sure, like we said, that you have all the information possible to make important decisions about your future and the future of your children. As always, please feel free to visit our website at hoflaw.com. That's HOFLAW.com for more in-depth resources, including articles. We have 4 free books, information about our upcoming seminars, our Girls Night Out events, and a lot more. But thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you again, Caitlin, for being here. And thanks for tuning in.